welcome to Billy's Books. Today we're doing Eric Idle's Always Look on the Bright Side of Life. I have a friend in North Carolina, my friend Tom, good buddy. We often exchange books and records and things like that because we have similar tastes. Without any warning, this book appeared in my mailbox. No warning, nothing, just showed up with this really nice gift. I thought that was pretty cool. So Eric Idle, member of the Monty Python's Flying Circus. This is an autobiography, or as he calls it, a sorta-biography. It just basically tells his story from his humble beginnings in northern England to the very end where he's still alive, which is great. However, some of his friends are not alive. He talks a lot about his friends and his escapades with his friends. Lots of British rock stars and comedians and things like that, as well as a few Americans. One of his American friends is Robin Williams, that he apparently was very close to. And there's lots of pictures of them together traveling all over the world. He says that Robin Williams is one of the funniest guys ever and one of the smartest guys ever. He described Robin Williams as someone who would, you just say something and he would immediately just explode with every possible joke and from every possible angle you could imagine. And just, his mind was much faster than anybody else's, even without controlled substances. He's also very, very close friends with George Harrison. George Harrison is one of the many things he's known for is he is responsible for single-handedly funding Monty Python's Life of Brian, the 1979 controversial movie. They didn't have enough money, and he pretty much, I forgot exactly, but he put either one of his castles or one of his houses or a mortgage or something, he sort of put that forth, or whatever you call it, on credit to get the money to pay for that movie. They asked, George, why did you pay for Monty Python's movie? And he just said, I wanted to see the movie. He's also got a very 1 or 2 second appearance in the movie, which often happens in movies that people create. Sometimes they get their little cameos. Anyway, so it's good to be rich and famous, at least if you're a British rock star and or comedian, because there's just tons and tons of great, amusing, of course, escapade stories about him hanging out with the Rolling Stones, David Bowie, and of course George Harrison and people like that. Apparently these guys, they all know each other and they all just show up. They're like, oh yeah, we were in our chalet in Provence, France, and you know, out in the middle of nowhere, and knock, knock, knock. Oh, Mick and Keith showed up, and we just, you know, we took a stroll, and it's just like, it's amazing. One of the great stories also is, you know, Graham Chapman, one of the first of the Monty Python guys to die a few years ago. They had a lot of swimming pool parties. That's something that British people do and rock stars do. So they had somewhere in England they had a pool party, and instead of the usual rock stars and stuff like that, Graham Chapman brought his family, you know, his parents and his aunties and things like that, and they were all enjoying themselves in a very civilized, simple manner. And then towards the late afternoon or whatever, the Rolling Stones showed up. Graham Chapman, his family, his aunties and things, they made it very clear they disapproved of the Rolling Stones, and like, oh, it's very late. Oh, maybe we should, and like, but maybe you should go home. And of course, Eric Idle's like, the Rolling Stones have always just had breakfast. But they were nice about it. You know, apparently Keith would just go up to the little complaining aunties and go, "It's all right, love. We'll leave." And they left. So they're all very nice to each other's families. I think that's great. Anyway, who else has he mentioned? He mentions Paul Simon and Carrie Fisher. If you want to hear about interesting rock stars that you like, or movie stars or comedians, there's a good chance they appear in here because he knows a lot of people being rich and famous. Turns out he wasn't rich until the end. When they made Spamalot, their musical theater production that started on Broadway, they made tons and tons and tons of money. And finally, they were rich, and then they got sued by the producer, or one of the producers who did the Holy Grail movie, which is one of their first ones, because a lot of the Holy Grail characters and plot lines appear in the Spamalot performance. They got sued by him, and he claimed that when they made that movie, they declared him the seventh Python. which was, Eric Idle repeatedly says, that's nonsense, we would never do such a thing. John Cleese did some incredibly monologue in court talking about how absurd it was, and I guess that was very funny. And at the end of it, the judge said, doesn't matter, and so that guy won his lawsuit, and they ended up at the end of a hugely successful Broadway play production, managed to still somehow be broke or even $1 million in debt as a result. So they had to do another reunion concert, or concert or performance, I say, in actually the O2 Stadium. Is that what it's called? The O2 Stadium in London. This is in the noughties, I think. And it was sort of their last hurrah as an ensemble. And they made tons and tons of money. Their O2 arena performance sold out. They did one show and it sold out. That first one sold out in 30 seconds. And this is a football stadium. We're talking, I don't know how many, 40, 50,000 people. 30 seconds. That's the power of the internet. So they booked more, and I guess they finally made their money. And Eric Idle, one of the things he says in here is, I was finally rich, and I decided I liked it. So anyway, this is a funny book. He's a funny guy. It's funny stories. It has some serious moments because his friends die in him as he gets older. But overall, it's really good, and I enjoy it. I recommend it. As you know, I never recommend books or even review books I don't like. If you can't do, review.